programminginpython.com. I'm back with another video. Here, in this video, I'm going to tell you how to print the pattern of letter Q. In the previous videos, I've told you how to print the patterns up to letter P. So it's time for letter Q. If you want all the previous patterns, I'll link the playlist in the description. I'll also pin it in the comment box, and you can also find it in the I button in the right corner of this video. So make sure to click that I button for all the videos on this playlist up to letter P. So now let's start with letter Q. This is the pattern Q I'm going to print. You see, this is like the O, and I'm printing this tail type here. These three is for the tail and this is for the O. As it is like O, if you in the previous videos I have told you about O, how to print the pattern of letter O. So we'll print that O but with little adjustment. But if you see if you want to print O, I'll print up to this end. So here also there will be stars, and in the last end also there will be stars, and there won't be this tail. So to make this tail for this Q, I shifted this stars to the one line up, and then added a star at the end of this and also here. So we'll see how we can do this. It's similar to O, as I said, with but we lift this line a bit up and we'll add this tail. So let's see how we can print this letter. So let's assume the size as, not assume, actually the size is 6. So 5 means 6. So the size equal to 6. Actually I'm manually calculating the size and putting the size as 6. But when I go into my PyCharm ID in a few moments while I code it, I'll take this number size from the input. Like I will ask a prompt to enter size. Based upon the size, this letter may vary. Here in the example purpose, its size is 6, so I'm taking the size as 6. As you know, if you follow all the previous videos, we will loop this. There are two loops. These are called rows and these are called columns. So we loop rows and columns, and then based upon the conditions, we print stars. This is first row. You can call it this as first row, and this is last row, not exactly last, the last before row. This is first column and this is last column. So let's write conditions for printing those stars. So for R means rows, let us assume as rows, R in range S, and for columns, for C in range S. So rows and columns. Now we need to write conditions for these rows, columns and tail. So there will be 5 conditions. One condition for first row, one condition for last row, one condition for first column, one condition for last column, and one condition for the tail. So let me write those 5 conditions here. So I'll write the conditions here. If R equal to 0, that is the first row, and even here there need to be some other conditions, like column should not be equal to first and column should not be equal to last, and column not equal to 0 and column not equal to n minus 1. So write the conditions for if here the first row, that means row equal to 0, and there are other conditions like there is empty here. So for that we need to write some conditions like, and column not equal to 0 and column not equal to the last one, that is S minus 1. This would be one condition. That means this is for the first row. And for the last row, not for the last row, I will start for the first column. Here C equal to 0, C should be 0, that means first column, that should be first column, and row should not be equal to, and row not equal to 0, and there is a condition here to omit this star here, not only here but these two. So what I'll do is, actually if I do for O, we will have this line at the end. So what I'll do is, then for O I'll write R not equal to S minus 1 like this, if I only wanted the last. But here I also wanted to print it one line above. So I'll write here s minus 2. So that means it will omit these two. But that is also not the condition. Then it will only omit this s minus 2. So this s minus 1, this s minus 2 it will omit here and it will print star here. So what the condition should be? It should be less than. So I'll change this not equal to less than. So what should be less than s minus 2. So now I'll write conditions for this last column. Column equal to s minus 1, that is last column, and row not equal to 0, that would be same. The row should not be equal to 0 for this star. And for here there are different things, and here we can write row not equal to s minus 2, because it should only omit this one and not this one. So I'll keep this condition as row not equal to s minus 2. Similar, if you can compare this with O, the only difference we are doing s minus 2 instead of s minus 1 is we are just shifting this one line up. So for that we need to omit these two, but for O we only need to omit this one. Even for here we need to omit these two, but there is a tail coming here, so we can leave it, or we can also write less than s minus 2, and then while writing this condition we can print it. That's also a problem. You can write not equal to or less minus 2, less than, that's fine. But if you write less than, it will omit here, and again while writing this tail condition we need to print there. So that is the only difference. We have completed first row, first column and last column. So we come to the last row, and here row equal to s minus 2. See, because we are printing one, not the last row, one above, so row equal to s minus 2. And here for the columns, as the column should not be 0. And here, instead of writing row less than s minus 2, I'll write and column less than s minus 2. So similar condition for what we written for columns, you will write for row s minus 2. So then this last row will be printed with one row above, so s minus 2. So it will be printed here instead of here. So these are the four conditions. We have printed first row, first column, last column. And now for the tail, there is one condition for the tail. So to print these slanting lines, there is one logic you can see. This row is 3 and column is 3. We are printing star. Row is 4, column is 4, row is 5, column is 5. For printing all these slanting lines, we use that condition. But we only need from the half. You don't need here 2, row is 2, column is 2, but we are not printing it. So here there are static numbers because we are taken as 6. But while doing the program, we'll just divide by half. Like if it's 6, we'll do by 2, that means from 3, so from it will come from here. That's why we are writing like this. So from the half, and row is equal to 0, row and column should be equal, and it should be from the half, from the bottom half, and it's only print from the bottom half. So for the tail, column should be greater than, these are columns should be greater than s by 2. There is floor division, by 2 and by 2, this is called floor division. When we are taking these numbers as instead of 6 we took 7, that is odd number. The normal division doesn't work properly with odd numbers. So if I do s by 2, it will work perfectly with any number we give. So that's the reason I'm writing s by 2. And row should be equal to column. So that's one condition. Decide row equal to column, and row column should be greater than s by 2. And here the row should also be greater than s by 2. That means if I only take column greater than s by 2 to start from here, but the row should also be greater than s by 2. So that will also write and row greater than s by 2. So these are the conditions. So these are the 5 conditions for all this. So this is for first row, I'll write or here, and this is for second row, or this is for first column, this is for last column, this one, this is for last row, this one, and this is for the tail, this tail. So these are all the if conditions. Starting from here, so these are all the if conditions. In all these cases, I'll print stars. In all these cases, I'll print stars in this if condition. If you follow my previous tutorials, you know why I have given and as empty space. By default, print takes /n, that means next line as default end. but we don't want to go to next line. After printing this star, it should stay there, print all these stars and then go to the next line. So I have given n as empty for these conditions, and in else conditions I will print spaces, else. So in else condition I am printing spaces. So this stars will print it, and here and all these else conditions will print spaces. And after the first for, actually I'm not indenting properly here, but after the first for, you will print the empty print so that it will go to the next line. So this is how you print the pattern of letter Q. Hope you understand. There are 5 conditions for first row, first column, last column, and the tail. And here it's similar to O up to these 4 corners, but you should shift this last row to one level up and you have to add a tail there. That's the only difference. I have changed this from pattern pattern O to pattern Q. So now I go into my PyCharm IDE, code the same, execute it, see the output. See there. So guys, I'm in my PyCharm IDE. You see, this is the pattern I have just explained in the whiteboard. So now I'll code it. So as usual, I will ask this size from the user. I will say input, enter any size, and I'll cast this to integer so that only integers can be inputted. And you also make a little condition, like if the size, if the size is less than 8, I'll just prompt the user to enter a size which is greater than 8. So print. So this is not necessary. This is not actually necessary. This is just for the output sake. You don't need to do this. This is not anything to do with the pattern I'm going to print. This is just to make the output look more reasonable. So if the size is big, we will see the pattern clearly, and I will take this as a parameter. Else the size is greater than 8, I will just print the pattern. This is the function I'm going to create. I'll take this size as a parameter here, and I'll create a new function here, def print pattern, and I will call that parameter size which I have taken as n. And here, as usual, as I explained in the whiteboard, we need 2 conditions for r in range of s. Actually, I'll write as row, for row in range of n here, and for column in range of n. So these are 2 loops, one for rows and one for columns. So I'll write if conditions here, if and else here, else print spaces, and I'll go end as empty or spaces. Even in here I will print stars, and I will go end as empty or space, whatever. So this here I need to write the conditions, and also after first for row I need to print empty print so that it goes to the next line. After printing this whole thing, it should go to the next line. For that, this empty print. And here I'll write the 5 conditions which I've discussed. One for first row, last row, first column, last column, and this tail. I also open pattern O. If you see, we are printing the same pattern, but this last line is moved up. Not only that, if I just if you see, and if I just Control X and paste them here, it will look like this. But I don't want this. I also need to move this also a bit up. I need to remove this star here and this star here so that it also looks reasonable. And here in the last line I'm going to print that Q tail. So we need to make some few adjustment to this pattern O. So not just moving up, we also need to make sure that these spaces come correctly. So here I write conditions. First condition is for if row equal to 0,
This is the first condition if row equal 0, and there are also conditions for column and column not equal to the first column, and also column not equal to the last column. For the last column I'll write n minus 1. This is for the first row. That would be the same in pattern O as well. So this is the one condition. I'll just group this into one, all this first thing, and I'll write an OR condition. So I'll write the condition for last row. Last row is not actually last, as I said in the explain the whiteboard. It's n minus 2, not actually n. So row equal to n minus 2, and column not equal to 0, the same thing, and column should also be not equal to s minus 2, I mean n minus 2, or I said it can also write less than n minus 2. So this would be the second condition. So I'll group this. I mean, this is for last row. Now I'll write for columns. If column equal to 0, that is the first column, and we also need to make some, and I also need to make some changes for these. This is the first column equal to 0, first column, and here also row should not be equal to 0, that is common. Row not equal to 0, that is to eliminate this first thing, and here I need to make two changes, I mean two spaces I need to give, and column less than, I mean and row less than n minus 2. So this is for first row, and column and for last column equal to n minus 2, and the it should here also row should not be equal to 0, that is we need to eliminate this space, and here it can be anything, because here we can also write n minus 2, we can also write n minus 2 or less than n minus 2, anything the same, because we however will print this tail, and row I'll just write not equal to n minus 2. You can also write less than, because however we are going to print this tail later. So, or this time for the tail, as I said, this row and column should be equal and it should be less than half. So write conditions like row should be greater than n by 2, and column also should be greater than n by 2, and row should be equal to column. So these are all the conditions for printing the tail. I think column is it should actually be n minus 1. Let me now run this again and see. See, you can it's running properly 8, and if I go for bigger letters 12. So these are the pattern Q looks like. So let me write some comments here so that it looks reasonable. Let me write some comments here so that we can understand which condition is for which row, or for which column, or for the tail. So it's more readable now. This is for first row, this is for last row, first column and the last column and Q tail. So let me run this again. So 120 size 9. Okay, this is perfect. This is working fine. So this is how we'll run this. So that's how we print this pattern of letter Q.
Hope you like the video, guys. If you like it, please consider subscribing to my channel programminginpython.com. I will continue this pattern series up to letter Z. So make sure you are subscribed to this channel. And if you like this video, please share it with your friends, give it a like, comment. Stay tuned for more videos from programminginpython.com. See you in the next video. Bye bye.